So this is episode 5. We're going to be cutting out the steel panel and we're going to be putting in a window on the driver's side of the T4 today. Very hard with the T4 because you've got like an inner and an outer panel. I won't confuse it by telling you, I will make it easier by showing you. So I've put together a little diagram of how I'm going to do this because it gets complicated. So without further ado, let's crack on with the diagram. Okay, a drawing here which really wouldn't do well in a design and technology class, but it gets the job done. If this is confusing, don't worry, I will show you outside, but this should just help. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut out the steel panel because we're going to put the window in, and we're going to cut it here, which is perfectly just below the inner panel. We'll get to here and then we need to remove the old bond, so we need to cut that out, and then when we cut that out we need to put new bonding in, and we need to clamp this straight so it's like this, and then the new window can sit perfectly. So that is how we're going to do it. Looks complicated, I know, maybe my drawings have made it more complicated than it should be, but with the VW-T4 it's bloody hard, so I'm going to bring the van round and then we can get started with this window fitting. Our job is to cut out the middle, and then we're going to flatten this little beveled area back to the inner panel. So I'll show you from the inside. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be cutting the outer panel just underneath this area here, and then taking out this bond as we showed you in the diagram, and then we're going to clamp the outer panel just under this inner panel and reseal it. So let's give it a go. We're going to cut this out. First of all, how we're going to do it is we're going to start in the corners, and we're just going to drill some holes, and we're going to do them in each corner, and then these are our pilot holes, and then we can start cutting with the angle grinder. So we've cut the first pilot holes in the bottom right hand corner. I have to admit it was taking a while with the slightly larger head, so I went down to the little 3.5 head and it is working an absolute treat. It's so much quicker. And if I take you outside, and we'll just need to do the same for the upper left, the top right and the bottom right corners. So we're going to cut around now from the outside this panel, and we're going to connect all the dots and then get this sheet of metal out. Okay, so we're just going to get some masking tape and join the dots just to protect the paint and the metal, but also just so we know a rough line for when we use the angle grinder. Alright, time to get cutting. Okay, so I'm just going to fast forward this bit because it's just the time lapse of me cutting out the steel panel. Alright. Window pane is out, and what you want to do when you cut out the outer panel is make sure you don't cut this inner panel at all. So we've left this in real good nick because this will be the inside finish. So all the way around the outside we're going to take out the sealant, and then when that's out we're going to sand down these really sharp edges on the outside and get it just the outer panel just below this inner lip level. Okay, so just using a Stanley knife here, and I've fast forwarded this bit too. I'm just taking out all the sealant from each side. It takes a lot longer than you think, this process, so be prepared and be patient. We've taken out the filler. You can see that is nice and clear the whole way down. Okay, so this is the look we're going for. We need to get this outer panel, which we've done, just a little bit lower than the inner lip. As you can see, it's just a little bit lower. There's the inner lip. The only thing I need to do is just finish off the top, but sadly my blade has just gone blunt and that's not going to work, so I've got to get another one of those tomorrow and I can finish that off. So I need this one just to finish it off. Okay, so now you can see it, we've sanded all the way, the outer layer all the way around, and it's shorter the whole way than the inner layer. So now we can tuck it into the bottom, and we started doing that with this bottom bit yesterday, so you can see it's just lost a little bit of the paint because we just hammered it in a little bit. So if I go like that, you can see it's now flush in line almost. We won't go too much tighter because we need to get the bond in, but we're going to start hammering in gently all the way around. Okay, so just using a hammer to hammer the steel flat. You will need a clamp as well, and maybe or like a bit of wood, something which basically takes out the vibrations of the outer steel panel, because otherwise it's just going to vibrate and nothing will happen. Okay, so now you'll see that we've just hammered it, and we've hammered it in, and you know, it's not going to be flush, but it's just slowly bending that camber back in a little bit, so that when we bond we can then clamp it even further in. But it gives us enough space to put the bond in. And now we're going to bond the inner and the outer layer together, and we're going to be using this sealant. And if you're like me and you really don't know how to use a skeleton gun to begin with, then you're going to struggle like this. So I'd advise getting a new skeleton gun, or basically just get your dad to help, because they're DIY experts, aren't they? And all I've done now is I've just put sealant and adhesive in the bottom lip and also on the left hand side, as you can see, and then I've just clamped them together, so now that those sides can set together and they can be bonded together basically. So we did this bottom bit first, we let it dry because we didn't have enough clamps, and then I've done the side and then the top. But it's sealed together really nicely now, the inner and the outer lip, and they look really good. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, now that's clamped and it's all dried together, we're just going to get rid of any flaky bits just around the surfaces, and then we'll apply the body primer. Now what we're just doing is we're just cleaning the surface. It's really dirty after the angle grinder and clearing the flaky bits, so we're just going to clean the surface before we can apply the primer. And then we're going to use the cotton bud, it's shaking well, and we're just going to apply it all the way around. Okay, and here, without knowing, was my first mistake. Around the end of my window you can see there is a seal, which I have put on whilst I'm caulking the adhesive on, and as you will find out shortly after I've put the window in, it is not the right thing to do, but this is the way that you put the window in. I would love to say this is the end of the video right here. Sadly, it is not, and I'll explain why. Okay guys, if you've got this kind of window where there's this inner slide lip and then you've got these two sort of plastic runoffs, one there, one on the left, do not go and do what I've just done, which is seal the whole window in with trim. Okay, so why not seal it with trim? Well, if you have trim the whole way around the outside of the glass, this section up here collects water from the outside when it rains for this inner section of the window which slides. Now these are the runoffs, so naturally the water will gather in this lip and it needs to run out. I mean, I've adhered the whole trim on, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this whole window out. I'm going to start again because I'm not happy with it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to re-adhere it without the trim. The trim is not sort of a necessity, it's almost a finish. It doesn't add a seal. The seal is in the adhesive. On the bottom of this there are two holes, and the water which will gather in this lip when it rains, or when you wash your car or whatever, needs to run down there and out, otherwise it will build up on this lip and it will spill over. Alright, this is what it looks like without trim, but I'm taking it off because I've taken the trim off first so I can get the adhesive off the window, which is a bloody tough challenge, I guess, which shows how well the adhesive works in the first place. So I'm starting in this corner and I'm cutting with a Stanley knife the adhesive all off. Take the window out, properly clean it again. Rule 101 is that don't put the seal all the way around the edge of the window. If you do and you're going to get leaks like I did, then you're going to spend the whole day doing this. Okay, so in my, I would say haste to fit this window, but in truth you're just not given much information, and you're given this trim assuming it should go on the outside, and that's what it's meant to do. But, and I'm going to say this from my opinion, if you've got this kind of window where you've got these sort of water drip off points, and they're here, they've got these little holes at the bottom here, so do not fit seal around here, because the seal will block that off, and it's like blocking the overspill of a dam. You know, over time that's going to build up with water, and then it's going to spill and it's going to sit in the lip here. And that's only going to then leak on the inside. So do not fit seal around these parts, which is what I did in the first place. And it was only when I threw a bucket of water at it and water was sitting here that I realised there was going to be a bit of an issue, and I googled it, and have to admit a lot of people on a T4 forum have just fitted it without trim. So I have had to backtrack. I've taken it off and I've taken as much of the old bond sealant as I can off, and I'm going to rebond that back onto the window. So I reapplied some primer on it yesterday. Now I know it looks a little bit rough. I've taken as much of this off as I can. The window's going to cover most of it, and the parts that it doesn't, I might just throw another bead of adhesive underneath it, but I'll tidy it up. Okay, so that's in. These are just to make sure it doesn't slip to the bottom. We've sort of really adhered it in nicely, and these are just folded bits of card just to make sure it has that lip still, which it will. There's another one here, and then this tape is just to keep it in place. But I have to admit, I really like that finish about the trim, but I just wanted to get the window in before it starts raining, because it's the UK and it will do soon, so all of this will be neatened up, but for the time being, that looks absolutely cracking. Et voila, here is the finished window, and it's pretty much all done. I will just go through and tidy all this up because it looks really rough and ready, but I mean, it's waterproof and it looks bloody good. Only on close inspection, when you get real close, can you see these bits? But that's because I went through yesterday and put an extra layer of sealant, a bead around the top. And to prove what these water runoffs do when there's no seal, can do is water test. So if I just pour this onto the lip, because the water's going to collect there. Alright, and then if I open this window, in fact no need, look at that, there is your evidence. Why is it running from there when I've only poured it over there? Well, because we know that the lip of this window goes the whole way down here, and the second runoff is there, and you can see all the water coming out, and the other one is just in here. So that is where to treat, and that is the reason why you don't want to put the seal in, because all of that water which has just come off would otherwise be sat on your inside lip, and then too much of it, and it's going to overflow on the inside of your van. So there you go, window complete.